Welcome to Unfiltered and Unstoppable with Rob Romesburg. Real strategies for real advisors, a podcast that dives into what it takes to scale a thriving financial practice. Each week, we'll discuss actionable strategies, tools, and insights to keep you ahead in today's financial landscape. From innovative products and powerful marketing tactics, you'll get unfiltered truth and unstoppable strategies. Let's get started by building your unstoppable financial practice today.
All right. Welcome back to Unfiltered and Unstoppable. I am your host, Rob Romesburg, and today we are tackling a topic that most advisors know that they should think about. However, at the same time, quietly hope they can put off. And I totally get it, and I understand we're all human. What we're talking about today is succession planning for advisors. So, succession planning for advisors. So, really, the title is Start Now or Regret Later. And because here's the uncomfortable truth to all of it. Um, Succession planning is not about retirement. It's about control. It's about options. It's about protecting what you've built, including your clients. And yet I've heard it time and time again. Um, Either I don't have time to do it, meaning I'm too busy, I'm too overwhelmed in the business, or I've got time because there's so much time in front of me, or I'm not ready to even think about something like that. Or you know what, I'm just going to deal with it later. And I get it. We're all human. I'm not here to point fingers. However, all of those answers are fine and good until later shows up today. And guess what? It happens time and time again. Later shows up today in all areas of our life. And so, in my years in the industry, what I've seen over and over is advisors building incredible businesses and serving their families and their communities for decades, creating real value and real protection, but for whatever reason, they didn't create that for themselves. What specifically with their business, and not turning this into a intentional exit with a real event. And that this is why today's conversation really matters. Um, because as I already said earlier, succession planning, if it's done correctly, not only is protecting you and your family and your legacy, but it's also protecting your clients and their families and their legacies. And also, if you do this right, you're going to see that this all gives you choices, multiple choices, as opposed to an oh my God, last minute decision. And that's not what you want. You don't want that for yourself, you don't want that for your family, and you don't want that for the families that you serve. So, to really tell you how this should be done and to really unpack this in the right way, I brought in somebody who actually has walked the walk. This is a man that I have a great deal of respect for, and our whole organization, Gradient Financial Group, has a just all kinds of respect for this man, Mr. Tim Brown. He's one of our top advisors. He's been one of our top advisors since 2004. Tim might correct me here in a moment, but I believe it's 2004. He's someone that has successfully sold his business and transitioned into what I might say, hopefully I'm not stepping on any toes here, semi-retirement, but on his own terms. And Tim won't be speaking in theory today. He's going to be speaking very much from experience. Mr. Tim Brown, welcome to Unfiltered and Unstoppable, my friend.
Thanks, Rob. I really appreciate you having me on today. And I think this is a really exciting topic. It's just something that every single advisor needs to be thinking about. So I appreciate the opportunity to just share whatever experience I had going through the succession process.
Well, thank you so much, and I absolutely appreciate your time today. I'm certain you would much rather be on the golf course. I'm not confused by that at all. If you don't mind, just give us a little 30-second background. How did you get in the business? How long you've been in the business? All of that good stuff.
I've been in the financial services business most of my life. I actually started back in the 80s with a little company called Merrill Lynch. Worked there a few years, worked at E.F. Hutton, got into the business in the early 2000s with another IMO. And then I got lucky. I met Gradient. And as a matter of fact, I'll tell you a quick story. There was a guy at Merrill Lynch. He ran Merrill Lynch, a guy by the name of Don Regan. Later, I think it was chief of staff for Ronald Reagan or something like that. And he said, I don't know what brought me to the brokerage industry, but I could not have done it without Merrill Lynch. And I pretty much feel the same way. I'm glad I had a small experience with another IMO. But then when I met Gradient, my business, my background in my business and Gradient's ambition and Gradient's growth just got the whole thing rolling, and it's been a wonderful career.
That is so awesome. And this January will be my 20th year with Gradient, and so you and I have essentially been at Gradient almost the same exact time. So it's been phenomenal. Um, so I'm I'm really glad you're here because people hear from me all the time on how I think it should be done and how it should be done, but I want to really let's highlight you and let's talk about the big picture here. So now you are in such a wonderful position because you did so many of these things with discipline and taking your time and being able to really make correct decisions. Looking back on your career with clarity, what maybe did you not fully understand about succession planning or earlier on in your career, or you wish you would have known maybe?
I think that an advisor is either scaling or planning his succession plan. So either you're scaling your business to get bigger
Yeah.
because you're in a big growth mode. We're fortunate in this business is that the stock market, if you look at a long-term chart of the stock market, it goes up. So the stock market helps us grow assets under management. And then we do marketing things to bring in new clients. But if you stop there, eventually, and this is what happened to me, you're going to find that you're a small business because there's only so many hours in the day, depending, if you have one assistant, two assistants, something like that. So you either need to be scaling early on, or else you need to get it to a level that I got it to where I was very happy. I had a wonderful life while I was working with Gradient and building a financial practice. But then, yeah, you need to go into succession planning. And that takes a lot of preparation. And I just, so the thing that I guess that the thing that surprised me is that I probably should have scaled more. And then succession planning, finding the right partner in terms of who's going to buy you out,
Yeah.
and then planning that transition takes a long time. And that's after you get the deal done. So, yeah, I would say if you don't start 3 to 5 years before you're ready to leave, you're behind the 8 ball.
And I think one of the things that you recognize and maybe ultimately helped you with this decision is that if you aren't planning your exit, someone or something else will. And I think you recognize that, and I use the term, and I use this on a regular basis, discipline. And thankfully, you are a man of discipline in regards to business, and you saw that discipline, and you also recognize that the earlier you start something like this, the more control that you keep. And I know there are some advisors out there that are thinking, I will never get out of the business. Let's be clear, Tim, you're not out of the business, right? You're still in the business.
I am still in the business, but any advisor that tells me he'll never get out of the business, he's fooling himself.
Right, right. And so once again, talking about options and control and things like that, because you did such a good job of planning, you were able to find the buyer that was able to buy your business. And also you are allowed or you are able to continue in the business, and then you will fully exit on your own terms, which is all awesome as well. And the thing is that I want to call it what it is also. I'm not saying that an advisor is avoiding succession planning because they're irresponsible. I'm not saying that at all. Um, and I get it with most difficult decisions. Some of those decisions, eh, I don't make them possibly because I don't want to confront something that I have to. Like that have to part of it is the scary part. It's the ugly part. So from your perspective, Tim, why do you think most advisors de delay this conversation or this decision for so long?
Avoidance. I mean, we all want to think that we are immortal. We want to think
Yes.
that we're not losing any of our talents, and that we're not losing any of our desire to get up and go do this every day. So really, what we're doing is avoiding the truth. We might notice as our clients come in for meetings, they're getting a little older, they're getting a little slower, but that could never happen to me. But of course it does. You get to a certain age and you just either have lost a little bit of interest, or you've lost a little bit of the desire to learn new technologies and new things. And the, the truth is you got to keep going hard. And then eventually time or a circumstance or your clients are going to tell you in some way, form, or fashion that you're getting older.
Mhm. And I've heard this before, specifically in planning, just period, financial planning, business planning, all of it, is that avoidance is expensive, meaning it just hides the bill for later. And I'm going to touch on this in just a little bit, but that there are also what I've seen and what you've seen in the years of the business, many things that can happen out of our control. And when you are forced to sell your business or your family is forced to sell your business, guess what? You aren't getting the value near the value that your business deserves. And like I said, we'll put a pin on that and come back to that here in a moment. So let's go ahead and dive into that. That's a great transition. So let's take it a layer deeper because succession planning's not necessarily just timelines and just valuation. It's also very much about what ifs. And Tim, this is personal for both you and I. All the years that we've been in the business, I've seen from the advisors that I've worked with many of your peers and friends and partners that you've come across over the years. We've seen just about every scenario imaginable. So we've seen divorces completely change ownership structures within businesses. I've seen father-son teams split up with no agreement in place, and oh my god, the greatest father-son relationship that you might have ever seen is now is ugly, disgusting divorce that they'll never speak to each other again. Uh, uh, Auto accidents. Tim and I had a very close friend of ours, one of our favorite advisors, unfortunately passed away from a motorcycle accident, and that was a very difficult situation for the family. And this was a man that, was very responsible and very disciplined and took great care of his clients, just didn't do it for his own business. And, we've heard the example specifically about financial advisors is that they're very much like the auto mechanic. You see a great auto mechanic, they do a great job of working on everyone else's car, but in their own yard, they got 5 cars with the hood up. And that's that's very much like a financial advisor. And when sudden sickness comes or unexpected death, and unfortunately, in many of those cases, there wasn't a plan, which meant their family was left holding the bag, or their partners in the business. And then guess what? Clients become confused. Your business starts to unravel. So maybe you had a son or a daughter that was going to take the business over, but now they're scrambling and clients are leaving. And once again, I'm not saying because the advisor didn't care, but it's always because the advisor thought they had more time. So, Tim, why or how can succession planning really be risk management and not just exit planning as well?
Oh yeah, it is all about risk management. You some of the things you said, I just wanted to respond to. I remember having a conversation with my two sons together, the three of us sitting in a room. One's a software engineer, the other one was in law school at the time, and I said, "Do you have any interest in taking over my business?" And my software engineer looked at me and he goes, "Dad, I have no interest in your business whatsoever." I said, "That's fine. I'm happy for you." And then
Yeah.
I looked at my law student and I said, "Son, do you have any interest in taking over my business?" He goes, "Dad, I'm going to be a lawyer." So, yeah, so that's what the real world is, even in a good sense. So that was the start. Did my sons want any of it? And then when they didn't, I'm like, okay, now we're talking about risk management because there's so many risks. You got to have your accounting right, okay, because you don't have anything to sell if you don't know what your recurring revenue is and you don't know how much business you're doing in life insurance or annuities or things like that. You don't know what you got. And a suitor doesn't know what you got. So you got to get your accounting right. And then it is risk management. And here are just a few of the risks. Um, you're going to get older. Okay. Some clients are going to leave. Some clients are going to lose faith or lose trust in you because you are older. And then you're going to have a hard time attracting new people once you get to a certain age, unless you either have scaled up where they feel very comfortable moving to the next person that's in your organization, or unless you have put in a situation where they go, "Oh, yeah, I know that it's going to work." So you have to avoid that risk management because eventually, and this is what happened to me, it's really funny. Um, it didn't start till about 3 or 4 years ago. We would come in. I'm at the onboarding process with a client. I've turned a prospect into a client. And he says, "Well, we're real happy with you. We want to move forward, but can you tell me what happens when something happens to you?" And that did not, I never got that question until about 3 or 4 years ago.
Mhm.
And I knew right then, okay, they're asking a real question, and you
Yeah.
need to have a really good answer, which means you better get started on your succession plan.
Yep.
So those are, you got to get rid of some of the risks, just as some of the uncertainty.
Yep. You are exactly right. And so the advisors such as yourself, this is exactly what we've seen from them that have the proper agreements in place and structure in place. They're able to navigate that specific moment, that particular question, without any fear, without any chaos, and say, boom, this is exactly what happens if something were to happen to me. And guess what? That client says, "Thank you. I really appreciate that." And unfortunately, what we have seen, Tim, from some of our advisors in the business that have experienced some of these tragedies, the real tragedy isn't necessarily the event, it's the lack of preparation.
Oh,
And we have seen the families that have had to take over and just, I mean, just, oh my gosh, have to dive in with both feet and, struggle to try to figure out things and get the proper licensure all of a sudden out of the blue. And because, oh, that's never going to happen to me. And I'm not saying, I don't want to turn this into a fear fest. I'm not saying that at all. But let's talk a little bit here. What happens when we do wait too long? What happens? And you touched on this a little bit, the forced exits and maybe the reduced price I could have got on my business. What happens if I wait too long?
well, all the risk. I mean, I would have a hard time guessing, but my guess is if it's a forced sale, that means your family's selling. they don't know what your business is worth, and they're going to get 30 to 60 cents on the dollar for what your business is really worth. Now, you contrast that with a well-planned sale, which still takes a long time. You contrast that with a well-planned sale, and now not only did I get what my business was worth, but I was able to plan how do I want to get paid? How much do I want to go to long-term capital gains? How much do I want to continue to flow through to me for a period of time, whether it was a note or a consulting agreement or something like that? This is the most, they always say, oh, the biggest decision you're ever going to make is when you buy your house. Well, I will tell financial advisors, especially people that work with Gradient and have an RIA, by far the biggest decision you're ever going to make is, when do I sell my business? And do I want to sell it for 100% on the dollar under my terms? Or do I want some family member to look at it and go, yeah, we're happy to take 33 cents on the dollar, just get rid of it and give us the cash?
That's right. That's exactly right. I believe I heard this from Mr. Chuck Lucius one time. He said a phrase something along the lines of time creates leverage and panic destroys it. And that's exactly everything that you just said there. So let's take it a step further and let's really demystify all of this and tell what did you find were some of the core components of a strong succession plan, like the timeline, things like that.
Okay, so first of all, you better have good accounting. Okay, you got to know what your business is worth. You got to know what the cash flow is, all that stuff. So it starts there.
Mhm.
And then it's going to take, I don't know how long it's going to take you to find a partner that you're willing to sell to, because this is someone that is going to give you money, but they may not give you all cash. So it has to be someone credit worthy. So that takes a while. And then it may take you 2 weeks to a month to several months to hash out the deal, because the buyer wants certain things, the seller wants certain things. There's all sorts of things. And, is this dependent upon retention of clients or what? It can be a lot of things. So it takes a few months to get that hashed out, perhaps. And then it's got to go through, his lawyer has to bless it, your attorney has to bless it, and then there has to be, and all of that takes time. It can take 6 months, it could take 2 years. And what I guarantee you is, the longer it takes is not necessarily a bad thing. That is an argument for starting early, because you begin to know what are the expectations of this buyer, and he begins to know what are the expectations of this seller. In other words, am I saying, here's the keys, I'm out, good luck? Or am I saying, no, 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 let's do this right? And you brought up something that's really important. Anyone who has been in this business for a very long time soon learns that the key to their success is how well they serve their clients, and therefore they build up a loyalty to their clients, and therefore they want to take care of and protect their clients even after they're gone. So it becomes important that you do all these things in advance and with a nice timeline, so that you're taking care of not just your buyer, your deal, your payout, but you're taking care of the most important thing, which is your clients.
You're exactly right. Let's continue on that path there. One of the fears that I might have, because I'm a very prideful guy, and I'm not sure that anybody could do it better than me. And my clients love me, and they've loved me for 30 years. Man, I am so concerned how they are going to react. What did that client communication look like? And what?
That has been probably one of the most surprising things to me,
Mhm,
because, running a smaller practice,
mhm,
I knew I was always the guy. I
sure.
was the guy. But your clients come in and see you, they realize you're getting older. They realize, I have my first grandchild now. So they realize that's and my clients know that. And they actually have been more, for the most part, the majority of them. Well, one client said, she goes, well, this is like an earthquake, but I'm really enjoying my retirement, and I would not. I'm enjoying it so much that I would not want Tim to enjoy that as well. So they've been very understanding. In most cases, they've been happy to hear from younger men, younger women. We've kept a lot of the things the same, but they're happy to hear new ideas. Okay, so that was the most surprising to me because we all think we are not replaceable, but you are, and you are even probably replaceable at a higher level than perhaps you did it yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. The thing, however, that speaks very loudly there is from when your client said, I really want for you to enjoy retirement the same as I am right now. Like that's a big deal. That is so great. And that speaks to the care that you've provided that client and how intentional you've been with them and their family. I mean, that's someone that genuinely cares for you and your future. And so that's so great, Tim. And I am not genuinely, I'm not surprised by that at all. So that's so great to hear. And as we talk through this, what really strikes me, and I kind of knew this before, but it's really ringing very clear to me right now, is that everything that we've talked about requires structure, guidance, and really, in my opinion, more than anything, is intention. You have to be intentional with all of this, and that's kind of like where I'd like to pause here for a moment for any advisor that's listening right now. Um, Obviously, I understand this can all be overwhelming, and especially even if you know it's important, that is one of the primary reasons why we built our tactical coaching team for this exact reason. So not we never rushed Tim out the door. In fact, I would say it's probably more Tim coming to us than us coming to him, but we were able to be here to help. So thinking through succession planning, identifying risks, but before uh, they actually become problems, real problems, to make sure we're putting the plans in place to protect your families and the families you serve, your partners, and once again, to ensure that you're able to move throughout all of these life transitions with clarity as opposed to fear. So, Tim, in your experience, how valuable would it have been earlier in your career to have a team like the tactical coaching team to help build this foundation all the way through your career to help you think through these decisions proactively?
I think it's probably one of the most important things. I've touched on accounting a couple of times, just so you know what you got. But even more important than that, Gradient helped me. They had an outside company come in and evaluate my practice. How many clients, how many big clients, how many small clients, what are your revenues, all that stuff. So I had an idea what my business was worth. And then with what they're doing now, what Gradient is doing now, you actually know what your business is worth, and not just that, more importantly, what are the weak spots, what are the strong spots, and then if when we move into succession mode, how is this going to be treated tax wise and all of that stuff. I just think what Gradient has done, not just for clients or our clients, but what they've done for the advisor the advisor practice over the last 10 years is amazing. It is amazing. I was fortunate enough to get started early with Gradient, which was wonderful. But the thing that would make me happier is if I were 20 years younger
Yeah.
and I was starting today, because what they offer now is just so right on the cutting edge, so technologically proficient. And you just realize, oh, I found a really good partner.
One of the extremely generic examples that I use when talking about this particular topic is let's say that you were going to purchase a business and you have business A and business B. Business A, you go to have a conversation with them about their clients. How many clients do they have? How many assets do they have? Uh, can you break down your clients as far as segmentation of A, B's, and C's? and business A says, yes, I have 1,500 clients. I have 250 million of assets under management. Of that, 50 million is indexed annuities. Of that, I have 100 A clients. I have 200 B clients, and they break it down to you just right there on the spot. And then we go to company B and we say, hey, we're looking to buy in your business. Can you tell us a little bit about it? Yeah, I've got about 100 million, give or take, and probably 20 million of that is index annuities, and I don't know, maybe 300 clients. And so if you're just taking a look at that, which one, even if business A was valued less than business B, which one would you be more likely to pay more? You'd buy
You
business A over business B.
absolutely. If I'm talking to the guy that owns the business that he doesn't really know how much he's got or how it breaks down, what I know about his book is that there's all sorts of problems and skeletons
100%.
in the closet in
100%.
his book. And one of our goals as an advisor, especially when you're thinking about succession planning, I want to give someone a clean book, you know, no client complaints, no bad portfolios. It's all right there. Okay. This is a practice that you can plug people into, which is what happened in my case. They brought two guys down to take my place. You can plug people into, and that business is just going to continue to prosper and grow, and the clients are going to be served.
I love it. That's exactly right. Um, what I like to do towards the end of each one of my podcasts is to throw out a challenge to the advisors listening. So that challenge is that in the next 30 days, think about. I mean, don't do it tomorrow. Take the next 30 days. What does a good ending look like for you? If you're an advisor listening right now, take and find one trusted conversation partner to be able to have some outside the box ideas and conversations in regards to what the good ending might look like for you and your firm. Start mapping out options, not black and white decisions, but options. Because here, like Tim has said time and time again, succession planning is not about leaving. It's about making sure that we're protecting everything along the way, and that's really the point of what we walk through here today. Tim, these things go by so fast. I can't believe we're already 30 minutes here. I really appreciate you and all the years of working together and the wisdom that you've shared with me and my advisors and everyone else here at Gradient. Um, your experience, your honesty that you've brought to us, your perspective, it's just been so helpful all throughout the years and throughout our show today. Before we close out, Tim, any final thoughts you'd like to share with us?
Think about as an advisor and you begin thinking about succession planning, you've done this with all your clients. Think about what do I want the next chapter of my life to look like? Okay, whether it's travel, grandchildren, golf every day. I don't know what it looks like. That's your dream. But whatever you want that to look like, you got to make that happen. And that means, oh, I want to work forever, but I want to work forever with people under me or where I don't have all 100% of the skin in the game. Fine. All those deals are out there. But I would just leave with you, what do you want your life to look like? The next chapter. And you'll see immediately, I need to start some type of succession plan, whether I scale first and then have a succession plan, or whether I just go ahead and find someone and make this smooth the way I want it to be.
Perfectly stated. For everyone listening, if today's conversation stirred something for you, not panic. Once again, I don't want this to be a panic thing, but awareness. I want you to know this. I want to be very clear. You don't have to solve all of this today. That's not what we're saying at all. And definitely, you don't have to solve it alone. Like I said earlier, this is exactly the type of work that our tactical coaching team was built to support, to help advisors think ahead making sure that they are reducing risk, building intentional plans for themselves, and ultimately to protect what you, the advisor, have spent a lifetime creating. Because the truth is, your business deserves a thoughtful ending, and you deserve to have a future designed on your own terms as well. So if this episode today resonated with you, be sure to like, follow, and share the Unfiltered and Unstoppable podcast. Definitely helps us to be able to reach more advisors who are building something that matters, such as yourself. You could find it on all the platforms out there: LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, all that good stuff. And before we wrap up, I want to speak to all the advisors listening today directly to you. Thank you. Thank you for the long hours that nobody sees. Thank you for carrying the responsibility that most people never experience or don't even understand. Thank you for being the steady voice when the families are facing uncertainty. Unfortunately, or fortunately, you might be the only calm in their life in one of the worst time periods of their lives. Just always remember that your work matters. What you do matters. You make decisions and help families make these decisions that ripple throughout their lifetimes and throughout generations. And succession planning, as we talked over and over today, isn't about stepping away. It's about honoring what you've built, and protecting the people who depend on you, no matter what life brings. This has been Unfiltered and Unstoppable. I'm Rob Romesburg with my guest today, Mr. Tim Brown. As always, stay intentional, plan ahead, and build a legacy that stands, even in the what ifs. We'll see you next time on Unfiltered and Unstoppable. Thanks so much, Tim.